So, awesome animated POAP of Shapeshift and the chicken, the fox and the chicken, which I think is funny, since foxes eat chickens. Um, Hart was on Defiance Jam session, and Henry just made a great. Actually, not only Henry, I'm sure somebody cut a piece of micro content, and we're going to tweet that out. While we're on this call, it's actually scheduled to go out. Um, Henry, Henry, did you cut the micro content, or did someone else do that?
Someone else did. Timmy
Cool. Well,
for yeah.
shout out to Timmy. Um, then there we have these cool business cards, which will be like role business cards for people who have roles in SuperUMANs. This I had suggested this idea a while back after reading this book called Pencils of Promise, which is about a guy who started a charitable organization, and he talks about giving out business cards to volunteers, I think, and it just really had this big impact on their feeling of unity with the thing. So that kind of brought it up, and I think it's kind of cool to imagine, like, I don't know, I don't think too many DAOs have business cards for their DAO members. I think that's kind of fun. So very awesome graphics here. Really liking how it's coming together. Um, Fruity, what's the maybe you're not the only person to ask this question too, but what's kind of the next stage on these? Like, uh, uh, if we want to get them printed and stuff.
Um, yeah, so right now, I already made the Survey Monkey. Well, I need to edit it a little bit. What I'm trying to do is I put a request into the content team asking them to put all of the business cards together, and then we'll just have everyone vote on their favorite one. We'll customize it for you. We just need a little bit of information, and we figured we can do a virtual one. I don't know if that's going to be a POEP or an NFT, or we're just going to like do something you can simply download. And then we're also going to have an option where if you want to have it delivered in real life as well, we'll do that for you as well. So I'm hoping by next week I have everything together and we can start that process.
Okay, perfect. If you could just rendezvous with Henry, um, or me about funding that, we'll get the actual stuff paid for,
Okay.
cards printing and stuff. Um, awesome. Thank you for that. Very exciting stuff. I'll be traveling on Wednesday. I'll be out of the country, so I don't think I'll be able to get business cards shipped to me in Kyrgyzstan where I'm going, but maybe when I'm in Europe. Depends on what service we use. Cool. Swag Drops has an official website, so it's umaswag.com. Um, I'm not really sure yet how the distribution for the swag is going to work. See if our swag people are here. Don't see them. Does anyone know? Have they announced? Has Umaverse Poet Laureate announced like how that's going to be awarded? I haven't seen, but I got my little test one in the mail today, as you guys might have seen the picture. I posted a picture in the lair, so I was excited. And Britt also posted a picture of herself wearing her hoodie. We did a SuperUMAN Racket, which was Racket is this kind of cool platform where you can record a 9-minute video, or sorry, 9-minute audio. And I was invited to do a racket where it was me and someone else talking, which was kind of cool. And so it's a cool tool I want to use. Like, it was a 9-minute video. He was asking about range tokens. And so you could imagine using this for a few different things. I did one that was like, what you like about being superhumans, and we got, I think, 8 or so responses, and they were really good. I mean, I tweeted each one out with a quote from it, and I really got a lot out of it. And I also had suggested maybe we could do that same model for like new people that join. Like, we could even just have a volley, which is just a question, and then anyone who joins new could like leave an answer introducing themselves, is one idea. But yeah, I liked that tool. I think it's worth experimenting with. Timmy Graphics wants to create superhuman avatars. Can have them designed on request. So I guess tag Timmy Graphics on that. If anyone has comments on the things I'm reading through, please raise your hand. We'll bring you on stage. Eric Bowles infographics. That first one is scheduled to go off on Twitter thanks to Henry's content pipeline. So that will go off, I think, at 1 in the morning my time, which is amazing to me to have a content pipeline, content calendar. These cool graphics going out is just a total upgrade in terms of how we're doing. So I'm very, very excited about that. And then we have this big infographic to walk people through the different products as a DAO. Okay, so before we jump into community discussion, is there anything else in the recap? Any comments people want to make generally?
I just had a question for who's designing the cards? Is that Fruity? Can we put we can put our avatars on the card? Is what you're saying?
I mean, I haven't really thought about doing that, but I don't see why not. If that's interested, if people are interested, I can leave that in the form.
Well, I was just curious because you said you were going to fully customize it, so I didn't know what that meant. But
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I meant the back. It'll have your name, your role, and your Discord username where they can contact you.
Got it.
But
okay.
that's also a cool idea. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, if it's not too much, but yeah, I think it'd be neat to kind of experiment. Like, I guess some of y'all have seen some of the Olympus community is like taking the initiative to create like home screens for a lot of their users and stuff. And I think that a lot of things like that are starting to catch on, like the Badger Punks. So I'd be like all on board with like us getting some kind of community initiative to do something like that. Maybe we could do Uma Punks, right? Or like with the chicken, or I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go out in left field if y'all let me. So back to the business cards. Yeah, if we can, that'd be great to have them customized. I saw at Paris, I met some of the Gitcoin guys, and they have some really, really cool business cards. So I'd like to see us outdo them.
Hey, since I'm the one who designed most of them, I like the idea of the avatar, but there's gonna be way too much on there. On top of like waiting to get people's avatars and everything versus just their info. So I also suggested making like the SuperUMAN kind of like NFT business cards, and that might be a bit easier to do, where the business cards here, I think with another avatar, it would be like way too much stuff, in my opinion.
Sure. No worries. Yeah.
Poop, you cut out if you were talking.
Yeah, he muted himself, so I thought maybe he
Oh, okay.
was done, but I didn't quite get it. But anyway, we'll roll on. Good stuff. I like the avatar. Timmy, I particularly like yours. I like the bright yellow that you have showing up down there. So yeah, I'd like one. Make me an avatar. Let's do it. Cool. Let's hop on to the community discussion section here. As we're talking through these, please think if there's anything else that we want to talk about. I will just go through these in order. This first one here is talking about a system in terms of recruitment and possibly voting mechanisms. But Britt, I'd like you to jump in on that because I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, so I think this might have been something I said today, right?
Yeah, I worded it wrong. I was kind of rushing through it. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So there was a engaging discussion going on in the admin channel, I think, about like setting up some infrastructure as we sort of become DAO-ish. And I just thought it would be good to sort of zoom out for a minute and kind of touch on like the various components of it from my perspective, which was one, I know Coach's big initiative is just like getting something up and going so we have a way to operate. And then Fruity Cup pointed out that we also will want to have more of like a long-term solution that we establish as we go that kind of addresses some of the unanswered questions in our initial situation setup, whatever we have going. And so I just wanted to validate both. Both and are important, and it would be good for people to hop on whichever is placed to their strength to help brainstorm around those things. Right now, for the like short-term stuff, Coach has been flying mostly solo, and then we haven't really talked as a community about the research process for like how we want to develop a more permanent system. And I think it would be good to have some research from how other DAOs do it, and then figure out like how that works for us. With a caveat there of needing some guidance from the UMA team at this point, since we are still sort of a community and not a DAO, just kind of respecting respecting those differences. I just kind of wanted to like articulate all of the happenings going on. I think the community movement is moving faster than the UMA team movement on this front. I just want to make sure everybody stays on the same page and connected and in harmony through these growing pains. That was really it.
Interesting. Yeah, go ahead in a little while. In a little while. I saw you unmuted. Did you have something? I guess not. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Britt. I think this is a very interesting conversation. It overlaps with something I'm working on right now, which is essentially about our brand and branding. And then it overlaps, I think, with Coach's piece on the culture. And then at the same time, like just last week, the core team did a few of us did a meeting brainstorming kind of like what a DAO would look like or why we would even do a DAO. We just did like this very preliminary exploration of this topic. So I think it's all good, like I don't think you're going to move too fast. I still don't fully understand, and I think it exactly exemplifies your point around like not being sure if everyone's on the same page, because I don't fully understand maybe the domain that you're referring to. Like, are you just referring to the processes that we're defining in Notion, or is
Can
it
I
something?
just? Sorry.
Yeah.
I think Coach and I were going like a little back and forth for a good half an hour, and there was a lot in that discussion. So trying to boil it down to like, let me just try to boil it down. I think the two main things is like, how do we deal with when we need a voting consensus, and what Coach created was great, and I think that is the best way to start out. But I'm a little concerned about the future, mostly around recruits, and we don't have that process outlined yet. So and
real quick,
It's
what
kind of like
is
a chicken and the egg type thing.
when you said something Coach created? What was that?
So he created the basically what it would look like if we had a dispute, and the voting. Oh, I forgot the document name, but it's how we would vote. Go ahead.
I got you, bro. I got you. basically what I did is I wrote up a few different documents. One of them is a consensus mechanism. So I didn't define how to use it, where to use it, when to use it. I just defined this is the process for when we need to make a collective decision. So this is how we're voting on it. Fruity made some pretty awesome points, which come down to who is voting. Are we going like super decentralized and anybody can vote? Or are we keeping it somewhat centralized and saying something like only SuperUMANs can vote? Or only SuperUMANs and recruits can vote? And if so, how do we need to restructure Discord and stuff in order to make that happen? Which are like super awesome points. And we do got to think about all that kind of stuff as well. I created another one for workflows, how to organize things in Notion and how to create different pipelines for different things. So that way we can see where everything is, different projects through different lead stages, different admin tasks, like figuring out how we're defining the culture and all this kind of stuff. Just so anybody can take a look at everything, jump in and out where needed, as needed, contribute to other people's stuff, see where your project is in a specific department's pipeline, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They're not that long. I summed it all up in like a page or two for all of them.
Yeah, and Coach left it like pretty open-ended on purpose, and I like that as a good starting point. And I think Fruity brings up a good point of like we need a little bit more detail. Specifically, I think there's sort of the question of like what do we need permission for? What kind of things can we just like go and do versus like what kind of things should we have a vote for versus which kind of things can we not even really make a decision on because that direction comes from the UMA team at this point. Just kind of some of the like rules of operation basically is kind of what is needed some more clarity around and you know
Sure.
without yeah, does that make more sense, Clayton?
Yeah, it does. And I guess my
I'll
reaction.
just oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just jump in and say like I haven't been here that long, so for me to try and like define and pinpoint that kind of stuff does it really does nobody any justice whatsoever. So pretty much what I did is I took it as far as I could in my head alone and got it to a point where it's like, okay, well, we need community feedback, we need UMA feedback, we need everyone's feedback so we can figure out how we're finishing this thing off and what directions we're going to take it and all of those different logistical things. So then we can follow through and start figuring out as a collective how we're structuring everything so that we can accomplish the objective we want to accomplish, such as like workflows and different topics like that that are right all over the floor.
You kind of broke up your last two sentences, Coach. For me, at least.
Oh, I was just saying, just different ways that then we can flesh it out as a collective on the different components, the different pieces that we need, and how we want that structured and what that looks like. But yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay, cool. So my intuition is that this is a process that'll take a little while. It's not something we're going to try to, and also that it doesn't have the necessity of being solved in the next 2 weeks, but maybe for 6 to 8 weeks. Is that a reasonable way of looking at it?
the way that I look at this kind of stuff is that it's never complete, right?
Yeah.
Have a foundation that we can jump off of, that we can move forward from. Keep it open enough that as we're growing, as we're scaling, as we're finding our footing and we're learning what we need, we have the agility to be able to pivot and adapt it to meet those needs.
Sure.
So trying to walk that line between too much detail and not enough detail until we have those pieces that we need to be able to fully in the ways that we need it.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah, Coach was trying to.
Go ahead, Bitcoin. No, please.
Coach was trying to avoid
avoid coordination. I think, and the one thing you made, it was pretty funny.
What? What did I do?
I said your to avoid coordination was making me crack up this morning.
Oh, that was good. My very first opening sentence of the one document, I meant to have a sentence about the ambitions towards increasing coordination and making it easier to jump in and out of workflows and see where everything is. And instead of saying that, I said I was trying to prevent it all. And Deadcoin caught it this
The sabotage.
woke up to that at at 5 in the morning. That's like what I woke up to on my phone. This Deadcoin going, hey, what's this about? I was like, oh, that's good.
That is pretty funny. It's like the dictator's DAO manifesto.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really like this. It's very consistent with stuff that like Vari Vari's been working on. By the way, if anyone is ever confused, Vari's name is spelled Mhairi, but in Gaelic, MH makes a V sound. So instead of Mahari, it's Vari. So that's who I'm referring to. She has been working on this like kind of this idea of a DAO that would run parallel to UMA and Risk Labs. And I think we're kind of there-ish right now with the way that the KPI options work. But it's almost like a 3 month at a time DAO, right? It's also like, UDAO isn't a governance token, but if we wanted to use Snapshot to allow voting using UDAO, and I don't know how easy that is, but you could imagine us having a consensus mechanism based on UDAO, which would kind of make sense insofar as like people are earning UDAO at based on their performance, so then they would have increased voting power. So just throwing that out there, but I haven't looked at your doc yet.
A high-speed DAO.
Yeah, speedy dating DAO.
Clayton, if you want to, I've never dealt with Snapshot on the logistical end, the back end before, but Lucas over at Bankless handles all that. You could probably message him and he'd be able to let you know how easy that is through it.
Awesome. That would be great. Actually, Henry's had some experience with it. Henry, is this something that you'd be willing to kind of poke around and check into? Maybe hook up with Lucas?
Yeah, sure.
I kind of have a proposal on that front for a role. Whether it's like temporary or long term is kind of up for debate, but having somebody who has a decent amount of time to put into researching those kinds of things, like what Snapshot and Coordinate and all of the other useful like DAO tools that other DAOs use, and their consensus mechanism layers and all of that good stuff. I think that would be valuable both for helping us establish some initial framework and then plugging that into the UMA team discussion that's been going on as well. I know Vari is trying to look into that as she can, but she could probably use some help from somebody on the community side who has some extra time to put towards that. I think that would be really valuable.
I could make that a little bit easier too if somebody wanted to dive towards that. I know Bankless has been doing a ton of extensive research on that kind of stuff. I could probably, if we had a couple people over here step up, I could probably bridge the gap and they could probably up on a lot of things. At least what they've researched, what they found out, and would give us a little bit more of a head start as opposed to being in cold. And it would really help out Vari a lot as well.
I love that idea. I think that not only would we benefit from shared knowledge, but just that relationship would be great. Like I love the idea of us all working together to like research better outcomes for both DAOs, both organizations. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and a few of those guys are already here with UMA and working with us in different communities. So
Sure.
It'll be simple enough to get rolling.
So basically the takeaway here is we need someone from the UMA community to kind of step up. So maybe this is basically like a role available. Is how we'd want to look at it.
I
Yeah,
might call it
definitely.
a leadership position, but yeah.
Definitely someone though. I mean, that was kind of like one of the main things that I was trying to help with.
So
Time
maybe
just wasn't so great for me to keep doing that at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
so I'm assuming that we would find like a technical writer from the community to head this up. Is that what we need?
I do not know what a technical writer is.
Well, yeah, I don't really either. I guess Vari would be better at explaining that. Yeah, maybe we need to define this a little bit better, I guess. But I can certainly look for somebody who's had some experience with stuff like that.
I think Britt did a good job of defining it. Role, see what other DAOs are doing, and start compiling a list of like best practices from a bunch of different communities and organizations. And then as a collective, we can start going through it and seeing what works for us, what doesn't, and tailor what we find to our community together.
And I could see someone from Bankless, from like their research guild coming over and, somebody over there who might have some extra time, they could jump right into that role over here if they wanted to. It would just take them a moment to get up to speed with kind of everything UMA related, but I could see that as a good place to like recruit from for that purpose.
We can do that as a last resort. We'll give the local community here the first resort. And then we can just pull resources together, because as it gets going and if somebody's in that role, they can start getting a picture of what's needed and what kind of support you need. And I have no problem building teams. I love building teams. Well, if somebody's in any role and they need like supporting positions, I can best to find somebody to fill those.
That's a superpower I'm glad to know that you have. I mean, we need more people.
Team building is so much fun. I love doing team building.
Awesome. I think this is a really good chat on this topic. Let's go ahead and keep carrying on the agenda. Unless anyone objects. We're still having issues with the POAP codes getting distributed outside the community. Does anyone want to speak to that problem? I'm assuming this means people, yeah, just like sending the code to other people that aren't on the call, basically.
I was thinking about this. Yeah. Go ahead, JB.
Let's say, does anyone know how Sushi does it with the fact that like if you're in there for 15 minutes, it just automatically sends it to you?
Yeah, Surf and I are in a chat with Tangle and they're one of their other devs, I think Luffy, and they're actually their bots keep blowing up, so it might not be the best option. They're trying a different method out, and yeah, we should get back in touch with them and see if how the new method is working and if it's going good. See how they're doing and try to implement it here. Henry's also on the call with Surf and I, so
I'm going to reach out to the POAP team and see if they have some input here, and maybe see if they can help offer some thoughts.
Cool. Yeah. I'd also like to, this would be an ongoing, this is just planting a seed, but what's next for POAPs, right? Like, so we're collecting them on our thing, which is cool when you go to your showcase. But like, are we going to start to award things to people for having POAPs? Like, how do we want to start using them? I think obviously the security of the POAPs is paramount to them being usable for rewards or otherwise acknowledgements. So we do want to make sure that, yeah, so make sure they're legit. But I think there's also room for us to do some interesting things going forward.
I kind of like the idea we played around with earlier, Clayton. I think that we should discuss these things in the chat and maybe find some kind of solution like that.
Yep. Cool. University, I'm moving on. University on hold while derivatives educational pieces are being worked on. Next class is this Wednesday on financial derivatives, forward contracts, futures contracts. That is just a pure update, I think. Deadcoin had a great idea to do a DAO series or YouTube special inviting other DAOs onto our stage to talk and ask questions. We could hype it up on social media, and it's a great way to promote brands, educate our communities, and promote our products. I think that's an awesome idea. I actually think it's pretty close to what we're already doing. So it is not, we just want to take that extra little step of effort. We can turn something we're already doing into great content, then that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, and that reminded me of something. There was an event I attended not too long ago, held by the Taoist. I don't know if y'all have heard of them or looked into them, but I had the pleasure of meeting some of those fine people, and I think that they would be somebody I could reach out to maybe invite for something like that.
On that note too, I think we also kind of talked about making it kind of content that's also not just 100% UMA. So it kind of also has its own kind of series level to it. Like it's also just some DAO education as well than just kind of like the chats we've been having where it's just kind of Q&A kind of chats about specifically what they're doing as a thought.
My knee-jerk reservation about that is like, are we talking about putting our bandwidth into generating like a whole podcast that's not like UMA specific? Am I thinking that the wrong way?
Yeah, sorry, no, like pretty UMA specific about it, but more about, I guess like a little bit just different than the kind of, you said the kind of like the calls we've been having with them.
Yeah.
And I think just maybe a little bit more like less heavy than that is where I'm going with it.
Sure. I gotcha. Yep. It makes sense. I like the idea. I know that someone has been talking about syndicating our calls some way. It might have been Henry. I know that we're pretty close to putting them on. I think they're already on YouTube. So I mean, we're not that far away from doing this. Does anyone have any idea for like what the next step would look like?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Quick one, just in addition to what was discussed about the Pope problem. I suggest that you don't talk about the time that it should be mentioned, the code will be mentioned. So it's just a surprise. So if you are in between, you just get to hear it. Either it's going to be in the middle, going to be at the end of the event, it's going to be in the beginning. So it's just a surprise. It's going to be a surprise. So there's no ways, there's no two ways to that. Just make it a surprise. So if you are in for the call, you are in for the call, you are in for the community hub call. Okay. So it's not just about the pure pop. So just a surprise. That's about that. Secondly, I think I was in a call the last call on the superhuman. So I was trying to understand how to be onboarded and contribute. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree with you about that. I just had this funny idea too, BFA, around that, which is we could. Now, I don't know if this would really work, but we could basically come up with a secret code that precedes when we announce the POAP. And so you could imagine we come up with a series of words that's not like the POAP code is blah, 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 but instead we're just like, the cow jumped over the moon, two days until EIP, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. And so only people who were invited, like, or who are engaging in the chats, but I don't know. It's getting a little goofy. I think you're right though, BFA, like giving him away at the very beginning seems a little bit like easy, a little bit too easy.
I think if you just drop like, like 3 or 4 words throughout the call, and then you just let everybody know in the chat, like, oh, write this one down, that should probably screen most people out. Anyway, the ones that are sleeping through the calls anyway.
Yeah, we going deep, boys. Dang.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. But I mean, it's, it's kind of like the fun of cryptography, and like this is kind of our domain, right? So it's kind of funny. It's passing secret notes. Cool. Let's oh, so we didn't really get what a next step with this DAO or YouTube series is going to be like. Let's just keep rolling on though. It's out there. It's an idea. We're going to let it sprout up in the soil. Onboarding team held its first recruits call to discuss Discord channels, Notion page, and a high-level overview of range success and KPI options. It was followed by a quiz. I just listened in, and I just thought it was phenomenal. I just really thought it was excellent. I think Hitten and Vari had driven it mostly. Sorry if I'm not giving someone a shout out on here that deserves it though.
Careless.
Oh, and Careless. Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, so all people who are not actually able to make this call. And it was just excellent. I just felt really excited and proud to be part of an organization that was doing this onboarding call. So it was awesome. The next point on the discussion agenda is Clayton wants to discuss how SuperUMAN content should be branded. Official Twitter will need to amplify the SuperUMAN platform. Both things need to be UMA, but make people understand the different groups. So there's a prompt here or a question. Can you think of other similar projects that have a community versus core brand, or how like the core brand and the community brand kind of relate to each other? This is a conversation that has been going on. There's actually a branding thread under the layer that where this conversation's been going on. Curious if anyone has any input just based on what I've said. Specifically around this idea of like the two different brands, the core team brand, the community brand, and how those kind of relate. Or specifically too, if there's examples of other guys you've seen do it well.
I think it's cool. My only hesitation is kind of similar to it sounded like there was going to be like an UMA tube that was created kind of along the same lines. And I kind of tried to steer that focus towards we should make the regular UMA YouTube channel boss before we go there. And I kind of feel a little bit the same way that we should like really get cranking on the goals of the regular UMA channel before we like focus on starting to have other people create stuff on another one. But it's a cool idea though, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
oh, go ahead, Clayton. After.
I absolutely agree with you, but I also, part of the reason we need this second channel is because there is content being generated that I wouldn't say is like consistent with UMA's brand, but we still want somewhere for it to live. And so we could imagine having like a superuman.org website that is curated by the SuperUMANs and is where that stuff can live, basically.
I have a question. I know another thing that we're trying to work on is like a sub branding for the different things that the UMA protocol offers, just because it's so like we offer so many different things that are seemingly unrelated. How do these two how does that tie in with like having a UMA brand and a SuperUMAN sub brand as well?
I think we can kind of discuss them separately. Like just to flesh this out, like we're building an insured bridge product that would allow you to go from like optimism to mainnet much more quickly. And so we're talking about branding that as its own product. I don't think we need to worry too much about that specific conversation in the context of this one, though. I mean, it's a good question. I just think the answer is that we can discuss them separately.
Okay, so you don't see any like connection there. They're just like totally different types of branding.
Yeah, ish. I mean, like for that specific product, we will have like some amount of, powered by UMA written on it, sort of thing. But we want to sell it slightly differently. And then we've been talking about the like the range and success tokens, the DAO treasury management angle, and like how that should fit into it. And that's still an open question. This thing around the SuperUMANs versus the sort of core team piece, though, is more like around content. So you could actually imagine like regardless of where we land on this decision of whether DAO treasury management products are their own product, we can still like we could imagine the UMA core team publishing articles and pieces about them and the SuperUMANs, which is happening right now, and having kind of a style guide associated with both, but they aren't the same style guide potentially, if that works. I mean, this is an open question.
I
Yeah.
love the
There's
direction you're heading here, Clay. I really like this idea of like having, separate identities, but we both work together. You know what I mean? I do like the idea of keeping that separate because it's important for us to show like that this is the community that's doing a lot of this, and that we do have the freedom to do a lot of this stuff. So, like especially in regards to like the 3-month UDAO type of thing. I think that it's important that we show that UMA is empowering their community members, because that's important. Like for me, especially coming in, I wanted to know that I am able to be involved here, right? And I can just jump in and start working. And that's important for somebody like me that doesn't really, I don't do one certain thing. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like it's important for us to distinguish those brands, but also note that they work together hand in hand, right? So it's like a cooperative.
Sure. Yep.
the my thoughts are ironically enough tie into respectively everything that everyone just said. What I was going to say way back there in regards to the overall conversation, just about culture and how to structure that, I really only have one example to go off of, which is Bankless. And the way that they address that is Brian and them, they decided that they wanted to launch a DAO, but they wanted no part in it. So they just kind of launched it off to the community. Here you go, have fun, and left everybody to deal with it on their own. That's one end of the spectrum. And then you got the ones that kind of start in more of a centralized manner, and then they slowly decentralize over time according to their roadmap, is the other end of the spectrum. And then you got pretty much everything in between, right? And it sounds like our solution is going to be somewhere in the middle. You don't necessarily need to drop it in everybody's lap and say, here you go, have fun. You don't necessarily need to keep everything on a short leash either. And there's a lot of ways to go about doing that in a way that represents harmony and collaborations and the value that we want and the values that we want to portray, and that we do a very good job of portraying, right? So there's that. And then I lost my train of thought. I was really on a roll there. But yeah, like we can do it all. It just really depends on the dynamic that you want. Throwing together some sort of like a brand guide, a style guide, it definitely helps. You don't want to confine it too much, and to a point that it's restricting the subsidiary's arm in a sense. but you could both have separate style guides or brand guides, and have some sort of way of marking them so that they're together. I don't know. I'm not much of a marketing and branding guy, but there's a ton of different ways you can go about doing that. But that's my thoughts on it.
Just adding a little bit to it, because I think that the biggest thing, the difference is, right, the UMA team provides the structure and then people follow along with it, but the structure can be built and be non-confining. So like when we do governance proposals in Bancor, there is a general template and things and ways of doing things, but it's very explicitly said that you don't actually have to do it this way, right? It's more of a suggestion. So I think that structure should be kind of along those lines.
Yeah, I totally agree with kind of echoing what Coach said. Just kind of like there's just kind of a wavelength of it of getting in. My only kind of thought was just like kind of starting out right now. I think putting more effort into our core crew of getting everyone up to not the same level but the same branding style, and then like get that core group like up to that level, than just kind of going and having it be like they already start making the semi-branded stuff on the other channel, if that made sense.
Yeah, you mean just like figure out some sort of a uniform system that we can all start following and build from type deal.
Yeah, get like the core one going first before releasing the like kind of semi one.
Yeah, I like that sort of point, which is like, let's do one thing right first before we start another thing.
Like for example, like I've seen a lot of graphics from people, and then like, it seems like we're all evolving at like right now, like going more and more towards like I've heard a lot of comments of like Uma's brand is vague or what do we do, and it seems like we're kind of evolving that way, and that's kind of the I guess the level I want to kind of evolve to first.
Yep. Yep. Cool. I think this is a really good conversation. I agree with you, JB. I think like those things are happening simultaneously. Like I am working on getting more clarity for the core brand as well as sort of defining this other thing. So it's not like I think we're done on the core brand, certainly. It's actually, if anything, it's actually helping to define the core brand when we think about the kind of community brand, so to speak, at the same time. The thing that I want to ask us to think about as we approach this is less about like what serves the community, or it's not it's not only what serves the community or what feels good to us. It's literally like, what about the people who aren't part of our community from the outside, the people whom a brand is like focused on, right? Imagine that they only have a few touch points with us. Like, are they going to understand the difference between the community brand and the UMA brand? Or are they just going to experience it as like kind of confusing or unclear? Like if let's imagine we had somewhat similar brands and they, so people kind of knew they were both UMA, but they ended up mixing together badly, etc. Like this is the kind of question that I feel like we need a marketing professional to analyze a little bit.
I think a logo would go a long way there in distinguishing who's who.
Just like a UMA having a SuperUMAN logo.
Yeah, an official SuperUMAN logo, so that people know that this is the official, unofficial, community-run, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Whatever.
We can call.
Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
The SuperUMAN initiative can be the collective initiative or the community initiative. That can be the differentiating pillar. The UMA team, the core team, can be, I forget what I was going to call you guys. I don't know. It's getting late over here. My brain is fried. But yeah, you get what I mean. The different logos can have like similar but different representation, you know? And then people would know by the logo, this is community driven, this is official.
Yeah, and then you just make sure you distinguish. So I've had like a little bit of experience with this from Harvest when we tried to do similar things. So yeah, I mean the thing is you know, recognizing from like our official Twitter account that you know, send something out. Hey, this is our community-based account run by the community, community managed, community run, whatever. And you know, just kind of give it some. It gives it some. Uh, uh, you know, backing from the UMA team, but it's also saying at the same time, this is not our official um, Twitter profile or whatever you want to call it.
Dude, yo, that's good, Poopster. I love that. Because also at the same time, it can be very tough to know what the scam pages are and stuff like that. So, like following Poopster's lead, that could be a good way of letting people know that you're not saying that it's official, but it's still somewhat official because it's an arm's length away. So people will know by reputation it's still a reputable account, right? And then it would be up to both camps, respectively and collectively, to decide what those guidelines are. And the core UMA team and the collective, or at least the people who are responsible in the leadership roles for those pieces, can figure out what those guidelines are for, and everybody's on what those guidelines are, and everybody's on the same page.
Hashtag semi-official. And also too, if there's a Twitter involved, there's probably going to be someone that has some level of moderation on this as well, to not let, you know, feral stuff go out on that page. So it's still going to be can be represented very well.
JB, there's the next NFT, the front of a Mack truck, SuperUMAN, semi-official. Boom, mic drop. There you go.
Sorry, I got called away for a second.
Hashtag semi-official. That's all you need to know.
All right. Yeah, semi-official? Did you say semi-official?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, cool. I like that. I mean, I particularly liked the official, unofficial. So either one is cool. I think, yeah, I like that direction. So look, guys, we have 3 minutes left. We are like a third of the way through this agenda, which I didn't really realize till just now. We have a lot of campaign stuff here, and I'm kind of thinking that this stuff should be discussed primarily on the lead review call. Does anyone have? Do people think that makes sense?
Yes.
That's fine. I'm happy to just give an update or
Yeah, please.
however you want to. Okay, yeah, sure. So I would as far as what we've been doing with Qidao, we had a community member, Wraithers, who stepped up and just like all of a sudden got super active and you know, got interested in what we're doing over here, and so now he's become like everything kind of evolved over the course of a 30-minute call on a Sunday morning. So it was really cool. We got to talk and chat and connect, and he's been doing a lot of research on UMA, and he's excited to join us here. And so we're excited to have him on board. I feel like that he's going to do a lot in the way of helping bridge these communities, you know. And any other SuperUMANs that want to jump in and help out over there, or that are interested in learning about Qidao and what's going on with that project, feel free to ping me or any of us, or just jump in the conversation in the Discord. But things are going well. We've got he came up with what I think are some wonderful ideas that I believe we're going to hold an AMA regarding. Maybe I should invite Wraithers up here to chat, but we're going to do an AMA with the community, which he has volunteered to organize and or help organize. I'm not going to volunteer him all the way, but so we feel like we want to drum up a little bit more support from our community in Qidao, but we feel like we have some great ideas, and we just want to get a little bit more community input before we kind of get down to the technical writing or proposals or whatever else might be next. So we're at a crucial stage now. I think we just want to inform the community, and then we can maybe start to move forward and get some comments from them there. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks for that update. Appreciate it. It's exciting, definitely. And just sort of musing on the snowball effect of growing SuperUMANs as we roll through other DAOs and pick up cool people.
So that's something really interesting that and I'm not going to sidetrack the meeting, but like if you've noticed, a lot of we have picked up a lot of people as they learn about what we're doing. So yeah. I think that there's a lot of value in like going into these communities and really like finding these people who are active in their communities, because those are likely the ones who are going to be passionate about trying to implement KPI options because they can help their project. They understand what everybody's trying to do. So I think that there's a lot of value in these campaigns. I think we just need to kind of fine tune them and like maybe even change our objectives with the campaign itself, so just something to think about.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Certainly having it be seeing it as an experience that's useful in its own right, particularly for whether it's awareness or building, kind of snowball collecting these other people. They don't necessarily need to be integration minded things to have positive outcomes. So I think that's a good point. Well, everyone, we are at 9:01 p.m. Should we go ahead and share the or sorry, we're not at 9:01 p.m. for everyone here, but we're at the end of the hour. Fruity, do you want to share the POAP code one more time?
Yeah, for everyone that didn't get it. All right, the POAP code is the number 2, days, DAYS, lowercase, the number 2 again, capital EIP 1559.
No, wait, hold on. Say that all again.
Okay. See, I thought I might have had to. I was crossing my fingers. Okay. The number 2, DAYS, lowercase, the number 2 again, capital EIP 1559.
All right, perfect.
I thought for sure we were gonna get. I thought for sure the second time we gave it out, it was gonna be different code, and I feel like we should have done that. Like we should have gave out some boo boo POAP on the first run and let everybody bail off, and then give out like the badass one at the end. All right, that's it for me. Sorry, I don't want to hold everybody up.
Hey Fruity, will you just take a snapshot of who's present in case we get some stragglers after, like we always do? And then I have one other kind of like fun thing for us to just end on.
Okay.
Which is, well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. This is Tangle from the sushi community. Might have some input here regarding this. I know we're at the end of but I invited him to speak. So please go ahead if you got something.
Yeah, go ahead, Tangle. He does not.
We need to get him up on.
I was chatting with Tangle earlier today regarding this whole POAP thing, and actually, anyway, I think he's been dealing with all this POAP stuff too. So
yeah,
I don't know if maybe he had some input. Anyway.
All right. Well, he's muted and he's on stage. If he wants to share something, he'll unmute, and then Britt, you can go ahead and finish up what you were gonna say.
Yeah, so I just had a look today with in a little while we put our heads together and came up with a list of like all of the leads we've had since we started the UDAO initiative, and we kind of like came to the conclusion if we closed all of the leads that we currently have, then each UDAO token will expire worth like $12 to $15. which
Wait, what?
is pretty sweet.
Oh my god.
It's not too bad.
So just a bit of encouragement. I know it's been like a rough start in terms of like getting people to commit to these integrations, but we have a ton of interest, and if we can get the ball rolling, it'll snowball really quickly. So just wanted to throw that out there as a way to like keep people motivated and spirits high.
Yep. Very good
Are
point.
we documenting our sales process so we can get people up to speed faster?
Well, let's have that conversation some more afterwards. I see Tangle is back, so I just want to give him an opportunity to speak up real quick.
Hey everyone. Pope stuff. It's been a rocky road. It's been crazy, but we're kind of onto something now. We're still testing it out in the sushi server, but we might have something that's more dedicated towards like having your user ID. So we're testing this stuff out here. We're going to see if this works, and if it does, we might be able to look at implementing it further. But for now, yeah, it's on the way, because I know people are just getting like, we've got Pope farmers and we've got so much just gets harvested that it also just becomes a daunting task when it's, everybody wants to have a Pope because they did show up and, they attended, and yeah, just having a good solution here is ideal. So hoping that we can come up with something here that that works and we can share with everyone. And if that works, then we'll keep everyone posted. But there is hope for the Pope.
That's great, man. Really appreciate y'all's help with all that. And, feel free anytime to ping any of us if there's anything we can do to help.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I think I've got a group going here with a few, I think Fruity and Clayton in there. Can't remember who else, but I know we've been in some talks here as well. So we'll keep everybody updated.
Awesome. Really good stuff. Appreciate you popping in, Tangle, and also just for helping us with the POAP bit. It's been great. All right. Fantastic meeting, everyone. Britt, really appreciated your little pep talk there at the end. Let's get our UDAO rocking. And yeah, good call. Really good call. Thanks for the good conversations, guys.
Appreciate y'all.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.